Today on Straight Talk Africa, a conversation with Pan-Africanist and human rights activist Yeharerwerk Gashaw. She is the first world-class Ethiopian model to work in Europe and the United States. She's also an accomplished actress in her own right and the first black female to appear on the popular television series Dallas. Her life's true passion is advocating for the social and economic justice of Africans and African diaspora around the world. That's coming up next right here on Straight Talk Africa. Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America headquarters here in Washington. I am Shaka Ssali.
Hello, Shaka, and hello to our viewers and listeners on the continent and around the world. I'm Ayan Bior, your social media reporter.
Today, it's a conversation with one of Africa's most accomplished personalities who acts as a bridge between the African diaspora and the continent.
And coming up later, our audience has weighed in on our topic through emails, Facebook, and Twitter comments, and we'll reveal some of them ahead on Straight Talk Africa.
If you don't know Ms. Gashaw, you should and hopefully will. She's a dedicated lifetime Pan-Africanist, activist, and an advocate for social and economic justice for all of us. My colleague, Paul Cisco, has more.
Yeharerwerk Gashaw has been an advocate for Pan-Africanism her whole life, and through her efforts, thousands of Ethiopians around the world have been liberated. She is professionally recognized as the first Ethiopian international model to work outside of Africa.
She's also the first Ethiopian model ever featured on a billboard, TV commercials, and also on Dallas.
She was introduced to Americans on the CBS television network in 1982.
We don't live really free.
Gashaw is currently in Washington, D.C. to further, with U.S. support, an inclusive conference and forum of Ethiopian political parties aimed at the establishment of a democratic and inclusive government in the East African nation. She says the current government is dismantling the nation. An accomplished actress, Gashaw has appeared in numerous films, and in 1980 she appeared on the top-rated U.S. television show Dallas. She now lives in Texas and uses her celebrity status on behalf of Ethiopian immigrants and African-American causes. Her humanitarian efforts began in 1978 as a teenager in Paris, where many Ethiopian refugees were being deported. In the late 1990s, while the world focused on the conflict in Kosovo, Ethiopia and Eritrea fought a bloody war. She fought for Ethiopian prisoners of war in Eritrea, including child soldiers. At the time, the Ethiopian government was denying their very existence. In 1990, she traveled with the Madiba, Nelson Mandela. In 2004, as a result of her hard work, the plight of Ethiopian refugees in Yemen was eased, many of them eventually living as free citizens in the United States, where her human rights advocacy was extended to include oppressed African Americans and other refugees the world over. Paul Cisco, VOA News, Washington.
Thanks, Paul, for that report. Joining us here in the VOA studio is my distinguished guest, Yeharerwerk Gashaw, activist, actress, model, and ambassador for the African Film Festival. Well, I have to say finally that I am profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled and gratified to have an opportunity to host you for the first time on Straight Talk Africa.
Thank you. First of all, I really like to say thanks to the Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, I wouldn't be here today. And thank you for VOA. Thank you to you, Shaka, for having me here, because without you, I know I wouldn't be here. Since 2004, I didn't come back to VOA. Last time I was interviewed was on Amharic program. And then that's it. Despite I do a lot of things, my voice was silenced. I mean, silenced, I should say. on the Amharic program anyway.
Well, I have to say that I'm profoundly honored for your compliments and support.
Thank you, brother.
Later in the program, we'll give you, our audience, a chance to call in with your question or comment. The number to call is 202-619-3111, and the U.S. country code is 1. Let me ask you a very fast, simple question, really. You've been all sorts of things, of course, as we just watched the clip. But if you could talk to me from the deepest, better part of the bottom of your Ethiopian heart and soul, who is Ms. Gashaw, really? What makes you tick?
I'm Pan-Africanist. I believe in one Africa, one people. I'm black. I'm an African. I'm an Ethiopian. My priority is the Ethiopian unity as well as the African unity, because there will not be African continent unity without without Ethiopian unity, because Ethiopia, as you know, is the only country that has never been taken by what I call the terrorist European government. Mm-hmm. And so also Ethiopia is one of the founders of the African unity, and Ethiopia happened to be the capital state, supposedly. Let's think Africa is united.
The de
Ethiopia
facto
will be a
capital of
state.
Africa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Ethiopia happened to be the African unity state, and capital city of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, is the capital city of African unity, and the OAU now AU. So with all, you know, that I describe, that's what I am. I'm not just Ethiopian. I'm an African, and the continent belongs to all black people, those in Africa, and then as well as in the diaspora, those who are taken by means of force as a slave. So
talking about Africa and talking, of course, about the diaspora, allow me to walk you back in memory lane, and we're looking at the 1980s. I'm a graduate student at UCLA in the City of the Angels, Los Angeles, and I'm traveling along Wilson Boulevard, and guess who I see? A huge billboard, actually, of Ms. Gashaw. Competing, frankly, toe-to-toe with Magic Johnson, the basketball megastar of the Los Angeles Lakers. How did it feel like to be on those huge billboards, really? A kid from Hara in Ethiopia, East Africa.
That's a great question. You know, with God, when you believe in God, in Jesus Christ, you know, mm-hmm. and when you believe also you're an African, when you know your history, you know, that you came from a brave people, heroes, Ethiopians, with all that, you know, history, background, and self-awareness, the more you see, you know, like you said, the billboard kind of, you know, exposure, the more you feel, you know, I have to do more as an African so I can project the positive image of Africa, which in America people, especially then, used to think like, you know, as if we live in in the jungle, or as if we don't have houses, you know. And so I'm grateful to God, and I'm grateful also to those who gave me the opportunity. But what got me there, it's my faith, number one, and my pride as Ethiopian African, And number 3, it's my effort, of course. You know, you wouldn't be here if you are not independent thinker. You know, there are so many Africans that live in the United States of America, but straight talk Africa, you know, with Shaka came because of similar, you know, self-esteem and pride and self-confidence.
Very interesting. Of course, for those of us who were at the then film school at UCLA, the closest would come to the billboards was that it had what they called a subliminal effect.
Yeah, in fact, you see, the Los Angeles Times did a story on it. I didn't know. I was told that day by Eddie Murphy's uncle that the Los Angeles Times, if I remember, the title was "Who is that girl?" And with the eyeglass down, I mean, when you see the pictures, just like any model, you know, it's a billboard's picture, it's a commercial, but the word "Who is that girl?" you know, meant a lot. And then Ethiopians were taking pictures of all the billboard, beginning from the airport, especially what makes the wheelchair, like you said, the Sunset and Wheelchair Boulevard. It was for the first time a black model was featured on that billboard, that spot. And the company was able to pay, you know, what it took to display their black hair products.
And of course, you had some Ethiopian restaurants on La Blair.
Yeah, I used to go there. Yeah, I used to go there. I remember, I forgot the name, but that was I think it's like the first restaurant. And I remember I used to go there. Yeah, it was a nice restaurant. It was kind of the unity place, in fact. Yeah, for most of us.
What about being the first black female, perhaps actually black human being, to play a role in the once very, very popular television series, Dallas?
Yeah.
How was it like?
Wow. Look, I lost my parent at early age. I think that's the background of all this confidence.
When you're talking about the early age,
yeah,
what
like
are you talking about?
When I was 8 and a half, my mom died. She was ill. And then my father, an army officer, died 6 months later. So by the age of 9, I lost both my parents. But of course, I have a brother and sister. My mom was divorced, you know, earlier. So she have 2 children. God is great. They live here in the United States. Anyway, so I became at early age my own parent and responsible, you know. And so since I became a decision maker for myself, you know, even to my agent, I had to tell her, Peggy Taylor, the late Peggy Taylor, that she has to book me on Dallas. And so every time, you know, they come up with something. They said, well, it's competing, you know, with their stars because they don't want more, you know, another glamorous person there, blah, blah. And I said, don't worry, God will go with me. Just book me. And so she booked me, and I was there. And they loved me. And Michael Priest, the director, was the one, you know, when he saw me, who really decided to have me in. And then, yeah, I really thank him. He lives in California. So when I got the part, it was like, wow, with God, everything possible.
Everything with God, everything is possible indeed. And I have to say, of course, time happens not to be our best ally, but we'll come back to more of that. Before we pause for a short break, we would want to remind you that Straight Talk Africa is now streaming live on Facebook. To watch our show, just enter the keyword Straight Talk Africa and don't forget to share it with your friends. We are on Twitter and we are tweeting live. Follow us at VOA Shaka. That's VOA Shaka, and join in on today's discussion with your questions and comments. Don't forget to use the hashtag African Diaspora, and we'll air some of your comments later in the show. We'll be right back with you, so please don't go away.
We are able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis. We hope that our viewers are getting inspired when they watch our show. They're getting a view of the world from a different perspective, things that perhaps are not in their immediate vicinity. Today, I could put in on the show something that is a little different, a little unique, and this gives me that inspiration to come to work.
This is Straight Talk Africa on the Voice of America. What is your opinion about today's topic? Call us at 202-619-3111. U.S. country code 1. When you call, remember the following. Ask only one question, keep your comment brief, and turn down the volume on your radio or television. Now let's return to Straight Talk Africa.
Thank you very much. Esther Gizi, your word. And of course, this is Straight Talk Africa, coming to you live from Washington. If you were to talk to us, or you were to put your fingers on it really, what would you say is the single most important accomplishment that you have done during your career? And two, what about the single most regrettable decision that you have made during that same period?
I think using myself, my image, my high profile, credential, in order to voice for over 35 years the positive side of Africa, and then also for voicing, advocating for Nigeria, the country, which was really since the late 1980, and especially in 1990, all over United States, at international airports, they used to have sign. Don't go to Nigeria.
Really?
Yeah.
In Dallas?
Dallas and even Atlanta, I have seen that in 1990. So I had to organize an international campaign in 1990 to show really the real side of Nigeria and Nigerians, because Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
Correct.
So, when Nigerians are insulted or disrespected or labeled in many negative way, that goes also to every African, in fact, every black person.
In fact, there's a saying that 1 out of every 4 Africans may in fact be a Nigerian.
Yeah, wherever you go, they used to say, are you Nigerian? If you have accent, you are asked that even in the store, are you from Nigeria? And it's using myself as a platform, to wherever I go, whatever platform, media, opportunity I got like this, especially the 3 networks then, we didn't have, CNN here in the early 80s, is that to teach the world about the positive side of Africa, about our culture, heroism, the distribution, or of all our diamond and gold. We built Europe, and we're the one of the backbone economy also of this country. you know, when it comes to oil, the diamond, the gold, all the minerals.
I can see some gold there reflecting Ethiopia.
Yeah, exactly. Church Lalibela. The Church Lalibela. And so I think that's one of my accomplishments, to give back to Africa. And I never stopped, and I'll never stop. And also my campaign.
But before you go there, tell us about your relationship with the Nigerian national soccer or football team.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know about the team. Prior to 1994, I didn't know. Prior to
the Super
World
Eagles.
Cup, I didn't know them. But what happened is, somehow I got a call from a Pan-Africanist, a brother from Nigeria, Sidney Okeke. Now he passed away. And he called me and he said, guess what? The media refused to talk to Nigerian community. I said, why? He said, well, they explained the issues to make it, you know, it's a long story, so to make it short, that the Edison police chief, where the Super Eagle is supposed to practice, it's a field, the police chief said openly to the Edison press, if you see 30 Nigerians in your restaurant, make sure you call police, because they organize fraud, credit card, and make sure to call police when you hear them speaking Nigerian. And so the Nigerian community, you know, the Nigerians positively are aggressive go-getters, and they tried to communicate with the press. They refused. So I had to step in. I was asked to step in, and I was out of town, so I had to go back to Dallas from where I was that day. And I organized a press conference, and I asked for reasons, you know, for the police chief, first of all, to apologize to whole African continent and to resign from his post. And so that's a small city, okay, Edison. But I organized a press conference at the city of Dallas, flag room. It's a bigger place. So we Africans were more bigger than that police chief. And finally he apologized. It was on the press.
Did he resign?
No, he didn't. I know he would not resign, but this is how, you know, you have to use a strategy to make headline news.
Right.
This is how you do. This is American culture, you know. So finally, the Nigerian government, also the embassy, stepped in, and we canceled the field there, you know, the training, and we took it another place. And then I became like the Nigerian organization. The organization name, I think, is the Nigerian National organization, and I teamed. And so when the team came, they made me their international spokesperson, and also they named me Super Eagle Lady.
They did that.
And then I became also the first female to
chair World Cup Humanity Committee in Dallas?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Because of that.
Very interesting.
You have to understand, Brother Shaka, whenever Africans are involved, it can be the World Cup, it can be any event, okay, organized by the government, by the city of Dallas, by Texas governor's office. They will not invite or they will not involve Africans about African issue. But you see African ambassadors or ministers coming, going, you see it on the news, there's event.
Marginalized.
Yeah, there's event, the Africans are not even invited.
Background prop, like in the movies.
So in this case, I said, we don't have to wait. I don't have to wait.
I hear you.
Every time I have the opportunity, of course, of the information who's coming to Dallas. Anyway, so I ask, I request, we need to be part of this African event. And then that's it. We're involved
and
in everything.
It happened.
Exactly.
Very good.
You have to be a leader wherever you live. As an African, you need to be a proud African, positively. Americans are good people. The decision makers are good. The people are good. You just have to know, you know.
You have to come with initiative and assert your constitutional rights.
Exactly, and the respect. When you know, they respect you.
What about the single most regrettable decision so far? Very briefly, really. There must be.
I don't know. I don't know, because my life, it's Africa and Ethiopia and black people always. And there's nothing that I really think.
Is there nothing that you ever believed in as being something very important, and later on you find that, you know, I just wish I didn't even try it?
No, the only time I think is like when my daughter, that's personal, but when she was like 1 year old, I was young mother. Now she's 25, so I didn't know that I could have traveled with my daughter to meet the State Department officials. And so in order to introduce to the State Department inclusive all party conference, I left my daughter in Oklahoma, in Dallas, I'm sorry. And the second day I had to fly, but that would be my only, you know, regrets. And then I told my daughter, and not long ago even, you know, I remind her again, always it's something me. And she said, look, it's not a problem. Look, I don't even remember. And she said, you did it for good. You did it for Ethiopia. You did it for Africa. It's for more people. You know, it's not a problem. And so, you know, that helps me really to feel better about it. But that haunts me always, but I take it personal, you know. But when it comes to African continent and the African people, black people, I mean, no regret, because I gave myself 100%, you know.
And you still do?
Still doing, and including the African, the Homeland Security projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I saw that.
And then I
Security Africa.
I advocate also
defending the African continents. Well, yeah.
And I advocate also for 38 African ambassadors to come to Dallas for the ambassador ballroom. Ball, I should say.
Very interesting. What about your single most proudest moment? Almost memorable, really, because let's face it,
yes.
I saw some of the pictures there.
Yes.
There is a place where you met with Madiba.
Yes.
The late South African President Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
In Goma, a very beautiful city, by the way.
Yeah.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, with then Mobutu Sese Seko Wazabanga.
Yes. Yes. But the first thing was when I was blessed by an Ethiopian Orthodox church pope for bringing, in the name of humanity, in the name of humanitarian, in the name of Congressman Mickey Leland,
yes.
and who died with him in the plane crash, Ethiopians and Americans from Congress,
yes.
when I organized an international prayer program at St. Trinity, at the Trinity Church in Addis Ababa.
Yes.
That I had to travel for that, to advocate, you know, there. And when he called my name and then blessed me, and he said, you know, she brought all these people together, and then he blessed me, and when he called my name, I will never forget.
So
that's
it's the single most proudest moment.
That's the first one. The second one is when I met with Mr. Mandela. I call him Jagnau Mandela, the hero Mandela. And then, you know, when first I was introduced to him, when he just hugged me like this, you know, and he said, oh, she's from Ethiopia. He's crazy about Ethiopians. And that's the
where
moment.
I think that's where he underwent the first military training, actually.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thanks to the Emperor Haile Selassie. Yes, thanks to him. And the young Foreign Minister Katama Ifru. I know Katama.
We'll come back to that. You're tuned into Straight Talk Africa. We'll have more of our discussion in a moment, including our social media segment. So please, don't go away.
Like Voice of America on Facebook. Follow VOA on Twitter. Join VOA on our YouTube channel. Like, follow, join VOA.
This is Straight Talk Africa on the Voice of America. Call us now with your questions and comments. The number is 202-619-3111 and the U.S. country code is 1. Call us direct and we'll call you right back. Remember to turn down the volume on your radio or television and keep your comments brief. Now back to Straight Talk Africa.
Thank you very much, Esther, give you words, and of course, welcome back to Straight Talk Africa, live from Washington. It's time to bring in our social media reporter, Ayen Bior. Take it away, Ayen.
Well, thanks, Shaka. This week's topic certainly generated a lot of comments. Yeharerwerk Gashaw started out as one of the first black models to achieve an international career. For most of her life, she has been an ardent advocate for Ethiopian immigrants and prisoners of war. Gashaw has also advocated for the rights of Africans and Americans in the United States. This leads us to our question of the week, which asked, what are the most important contributions of the diaspora to Africa? Well, let's start our conversation with a tweet from Respect H. Wright, who writes, they really bring in a lot of foreign exchange. Unfortunately, it's all lost to corruption, especially here in Uganda, where the motto has shifted from for God and my country to for God and my stomach. And we have another tweet from Abel Elibariki. He says, remittances that has positive impacts to the livelihood of the majority of Africa's socioeconomic development. David Kamibaro in Tanzania has our social media comment of the week. He writes, technology and investment transfers to African countries. Exposure of new ideas from the diaspora to Africa. Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Bob Marley awoke the Black and African consciousness, affecting liberation struggles. Heroes like Pele and Jesse Owens inspired African sportsmen. Well, let's go to another comment from Facebook fan Ndara Mariera in Kenya, who is thinking along the same lines of investments. He says, financial support. Since many African leaders are always lecturing graduates who have not yet paid or even started repaying loans from government institutions to start their own businesses, how can the graduates get money from financial institutions when they have not cleared loans that funded their education? Well, our last Facebook comment comes from Prince Habat Nkula in Uganda, who takes us back to our first comment about foreign exchange. He writes, Africans in the diaspora contribute to their respective countries by bringing in foreign currency. Well, a reminder that we appreciate all of the audience feedback. If you're a new fan, drop us a line at africatv@voanews.com. To comment on our Facebook page, just enter the keywords Straight Talk Africa. Be sure to visit us online at voaafrica.com. To join our YouTube channel, sign up to VOA TV2 Africa. Follow us on Twitter at VOA Shaka. Straight Talk Africa streams live every Wednesday on Facebook, or simply go to VOA's Straight Talk Africa TV program page on our website. To watch us live on your mobile device, download the VOA mobile app. Now let's take a look at what's on tap for next week's program. On the next Straight Talk Africa, child marriage is an ongoing tradition in many parts of the world. even though it is universally considered a human rights violation. It's particularly prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa, where nearly 40% of girls are married before the age of 18. An in-depth discussion on child marriage on the next Straight Talk Africa. Shaka, a lot of ideas and opinions shared on today's topic. You and our guest have a lot of social media comments to discuss. Back to you.
Well, thank you so much, of course, for sharing some social media reaction with us. And thanks again, as today is your last day with us. Ayen is moving on to other VOA projects, and we appreciate her reporting. She will be missed. Today, we are having, of course, a conversation with one of Africa's most accomplished personality, who acts as a bridge between the African diaspora and Africa. My distinguished guest is Yeharerwerk Gashaw, activist, actress, model, and ambassador for the African Film Festival. I have to say once again that I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled and gratified to have the opportunity to host you for the first time on Straight Talk Africa.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, and of course, come again. What do you think about Straight Talk Africa?
It's a great program. To me, Straight Talk Africa is like a social university, you know, where you learn a lot in terms of, you know, the political aspect of, I should say, of Africa, the world, and about justice, about equality, about economic, technology, everything. This is like, it's African University from VOA, directly from Washington, D.C.
Very interesting.
to Africa. That's how I see it. And then I love, you know, your question because of your strong questions. You bring the best out of everybody, you know.
We like to encourage our guests, of course, that they have to begin thinking that perhaps when they are responding to questions, they should imagine that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, not a detour.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, just tell as it is.
Very interesting.
And then be yourself.
And you know, there is a saying, of course, that if you are saying the truth,
Exactly.
you don't need to think.
No, yeah, and you don't have to read either.
Precisely, precisely. Now,
and that's what I like about Straight Talk Africa. It's just me. Here's just me. I'm not, you know.
Talking about reading, you have said that as long as there is injustice in the world, you will have work to do. What exactly do you mean by that?
Look, here in the United States, for example, if you take the African American community, we're talking about people being free here. Still, black people are not free in many ways in this country, and you live here, you know it. And because I have been part of the civil rights movement, you know, since early age. And since
what do you mean they are not free? The Constitution guarantees that they have a right, for example, to express themselves.
Yes, but yeah, well, just expressing yourself, that doesn't mean, you know, you're equal. You know, for example, when it comes...
The right to vote?
Well, yeah, you can
choose your leaders?
Yeah, you can vote,
And your vote, in fact, counts?
Yes, but if you don't have right, equal right, you know, with all education you have, you know, if you don't have equal right to become a professional, despite you went to school, despite you know you are well read, and then I mean, so what is just equality on paper? Yes, you can express yourself. You can even insult or say anything to a president of the United States. You can't write anything. That's not a problem. But because that will not harm the president or anybody else, you know? So you see many African Americans, as well as Africans, highly educated, but when it comes to the job opportunity, they drive taxi. Look,
So
I
you're
know
talking
many
about
PhDs.
discrimination?
Discrimination, yeah. And in many ways, there's discrimination, you know, in many ways,
But
in many levels. You know, even to get into medical school, you know, most black people.
But the discrimination is de facto, is not de jure, because if it was de jure, you could actually go to the judicial system and probably they will sort that out. Are you talking about de facto institutionalized racism or something like
Well,
that?
listen, systematically, it's made so you won't have any evidence, you know, to go and appeal for change, constitutional change. Because if, for example, someone, a department authority, you know, that hires people doesn't hire you, when he's asked, you know, with all the evidence, you know, the racism, the prejudice, and he will come up with something. If you're an African, he will say a program, or she will say, well, you know, he or she is not really adapted to the culture. She has or he has the education.
Have you ever been a victim of that or a beneficiary of that, given the fact that you've been an incredibly beautiful woman, you've been a celebrity, you've been on billboards all over the place. Have you actually?
Oh, yes. For example, I was supposed to be one of the young and the restless talents, which people call actors.
Right.
And then I had the opportunity to be interviewed, and the interview even was organized by the CBS president then in Los Angeles, you know. But first of all, I was told, I will never forget that moment. I was told to change my name.
Why?
I said, why? Now I'm different, you know, because I went through the process. I expressed myself, you know, calmly, okay? I focused like straight talk to Africa. But then that day I was very mad. I was disappointed. I was like, I'm an African. I'm an Ethiopian. What makes you special and tell me that to change my name, you know? I've never been colonized. But I said so many things, and then the lady didn't care, and she said, listen, you need to change your name. You need a catchy name. I was new also here. So there's so many terms that they use that I was new to, you know? I moved from Paris, and so between Ethiopia and I already know Africa, some African countries, so that culture, French culture, and then now American culture, you know, I was like new to everything, too young also.
Right,
okay,
right.
Because like I said, I didn't have, you know, family to guide me for everything. It was God, my Ethiopian, my African culture, you know, and then myself. So I was so confused and disappointed when she said, I have to change my name. And I said, you mean like Kunta Kinte? I said to her.
Oh my God.
And she said,
Roots.
yeah. I said, like Kunta Kinte. This is what I said at the time. Yeah. I said, no, I'm not going to change my name. I have a beautiful African name. You know, some people, even people from my country, call me Yeharer. You can't call me Yeharer.
Right, right.
But change to what? One of my modeling agents told me to change my name to Ye, which doesn't sound Africa at all. And then now you tell me to change my name. I said, I'm not going to change my name. Forget about your, the young and the restless. Look, I'm a young, but you make me now young and the restless. She said, no, go back also to Dallas, where you're based. Take voice articulation class, which will help you with your wording when we give you script, so you will know how to pronounce it.
Are we talking about accent
and
here
so
now?
the accent, you see, so I went through all that. You know, I could have been in many movies and TV commercials. So I'm a victim of the accent also, you know, but Yeah.
We'll come
But
to...
today it's changed. Things changed thanks to, what's his name? The Schwarzenegger?
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
The once governor of California.
Yeah. At that time I said, how about him?
California.
Yeah. And
yeah,
she
but
said,
he comes from Austria.
Yeah, and she said exactly that. She said, well, he's an Olympic star. I said, no, just tell me because he's not African. So, you know, we victimized. And
time is not our best ally. Well, you are tuned into Straight Talk Africa. To participate in our conversation, please call us at 202-619-3111. This country code is 1. We'll continue our discussion in a moment, so please don't go away because we'll be right back with you.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
If you like today's show, please write and tell us what you think or give us some suggestions. Be sure to tell us what station you're tuned into. Our address, Straight Talk Africa, Voice of America, 330 Independence Avenue Southwest, Washington, D.C. 20237 USA. Or send us an email at africatv@voanews.com. Log on to our website at voaafrica.com. Or post your comments on Facebook. Keywords Straight Talk Africa.
Thank you very much, Esther Gizi-Ewart. And of course, this is Straight Talk Africa coming to you live from Washington. Let me come to you, Yahara, if you don't mind. You were once quoted as saying that, quote, beauty is a flower, it will fade. You were an incredibly beautiful girl, woman, and whatever, and you still happen to be incredibly beautiful. But you say beauty will fade, but education lasts a lifetime. What prompted you to make such an observation?
Yes, that's a beautiful question. I said that on French TV when I became the day I became Miss Black Europe.
Miss Black Europe.
Yes, 1977. And so, yes, because when I was in Ethiopia, I saw, you see, this is a Straight Talk Africa now, okay?
I like that.
And that's me, so I have to tell as it is, okay? I went to visit this very beautiful Ethiopian woman in terms of beauty, the
ornamental beauty.
Beauty, yeah. And so she used to work for this Cameroonian diplomat, a female. And so when I went there, because a lot of times people, defer beauty as a leadership, as a richness, as wealth, as everything, right?
It's power.
Power, yeah. So when I went there to visit her, for the first time I saw the lady coming for lunchtime, and then she was driving a beautiful car. And she has her children in the back, and then she had also another beautiful Ethiopian woman, the nanny for her children.
Right.
So she had a maid and nanny.
Right.
Two ladies, two beautiful ladies. And I said,
was she beautiful
but
herself?
when you see in terms of that, now I know beauty, it's not really just, the outside, but it's from inside. But then I was a kid, so, to me, that lady was not beautiful or didn't appear as a beautiful woman. And so I said to myself, wow, this lady lives in this big house. She drives this beautiful car. She has this beautiful woman as her maids. And she has also gate guard. She's not even beautiful. How? And so I found out she's educated.
Interesting, very interesting, very interesting.
And that's where I took, okay, I don't have to think from now on about beauty, but more be serious on education. And then when government also, change in Ethiopia, you know, when the socialist government took place, about 60 or 62 well-educated, well-read Ethiopian that made a big difference in our country, and then including the OAU, they were killed by socialist government that time. I was in Ethiopia. About 60 or 62 officials were killed in the same day. And I knew some of them, especially the military officers. And so among one of the those educated ministers, I know, Katama Ifru, was in prison for 10 years. And then he was released after all. And then he was hired at the United Nations. And I said, wow, how, you know, those who are killed died with their education, their experience, and everything. Ethiopia lost not only 62, you know, officials, Ethiopian nationalists, including our Prime Minister, Aklilu Afwerki, have told. But we lost also treasure, you know? But Katama, because he was not killed and because he had a good education, he worked long time for UN. So that's what I told my little sister. You know, I said, be serious about your education. Look, Katama, Ifru, because it's, you know, he's one of my family members, like from the my mom's side. And so education, it's very important. Whether they put you in prison, whether they torture you, or whether you got sick, whatever, or they operate you, it doesn't matter. But if you have education, after all, you will rise. You can go anywhere and work. It's not about how you look, it's how you think.
You are right.
And what can you produce.
You actually have a point.
And that's what I got for me. I went to school here, and I thank the United States of America and the school system, and I thank African Americans for the freedom they gave me for equal opportunity, equal education. So I have 5.
So you owe Americans a profound, huge debt of gratitude.
Always, I love America
for having
since I was a little girl.
I do too.
Yeah, because my father was an army officer, as I told you.
Yes.
And even my second stepfather. So my blanket was U.S. Army blanket. My bed was back home, you know.
Very interesting.
So since I was young.
And you told me your father was, in fact, happened to be a boss of one-time Colonel and president of the Republic of Ethiopia.
Mengistu Haile-Mariam. Yeah, he knows my father very well.
Are you good friends?
When he told me even how my father swear, most people don't know that my father swears in his mom's name.
Very interesting.
A hero would not swear in a woman's name, but you know, in the past it was like that. Yeah, he knows him when he was a young cadet. Yeah, it was in Harar, and but he told me after, I think when I met him second time. Yeah. He didn't know me when I met him.
You met people like the late Ufebwanyi of Ivory Coast, correct?
Yes, I met him. Yeah.
What about was it Bernard Bongo or Omar Bongo?
Yes.
Of Gabon?
I met him also. Yeah. In fact, we met at the reception first because I was representing this company as a model and a cover girl, and so that's where I met with his wife, the kids.
Mobutu Sese Seko.
Yeah, Mobutu.
Was it because of being in France? Is it because you were in France and these people speak French or what?
No. I was not living. No, when I met with Bongo, I was in Paris. But Marshal Mobutu Sese Seko, I met him in 1990. I'm already in Dallas, so I moved here 1981 officially, but of course working all over. So it was not about that. In
You
fact,
are an advocate of socio-economic justice for all of us.
Yes.
Are you concerned about the fact that those leaders were very heavily criticized for their human rights records?
Yes, that's why I met with them, to make them understand the importance of freedom, you know, the importance of peace and reconciliation, the importance of sitting around the table and discuss instead of trying to solve a problem, you know, by means of, like you always said, 45. You said AK-45.
AK-47.
Yeah, AK-47. Yeah. I never use that, so I'm just borrowing it from you.
You also met another leader who takes advantage of AK-47, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni in Dallas.
Yes.
What did you talk about?
Yeah. No, he came to introduce business and investment for Uganda.
And he was looking for businessmen.
Yeah, in fact,
not women.
In fact, I have never seen that much Anglo-American or European-American corporate, 800 people, and you know, at the conference. And we were, you know, and so I was one of...
What did you say to him? 30 seconds, because we have to go for an obit.
Okay. Well, when he, you know, I'm like, you know, like I say, straight talk.
Yes. And you said?
So when he opened his statement, you know, why he came to Dallas, he said he came to meet with the American businessmen. And so I asked him, Mr. President, do you think American female are not making a difference in terms of the American business?
How did he respond?
Oh my gosh, that was great. He immediately apologized.
Good.
He said, let me rephrase it, let me say it. You know, he was not nervous, or he was not kind of like, how dare you ask me? You know, immediately he corrected. He started from the beginning, and that was nice of him.
Very good, very good. Well, finally, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge the recent passing of Kenyan-born Harvard scholar and Professor Calestas Juma. Juma was buried at his birthplace in Budarangi on January 6, 2018, of course, in Kenya. He began his career as a science teacher in Mombasa. He held a PhD in science policy research from the University of Sussex and was the first environmental journalist for the Daily Nation newspaper in Nairobi. In the late 1970s, at the time of his death, he was teaching graduate courses on science technology, development policy, and biotechnology at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Juma was an intellectual giant, a towering scholar, and a great human being. One colleague said of him, he was the best of the best. 3 times he was listed among the 100 most influential Africans by New African magazine. Our deepest sympathies, of course, to his friends and family. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And I have to say, I had the honor of having interviewed the man himself. Well, on that note, thanks to my distinguished guest, Yeharerwerk Gashaw, thanks to our affiliate stations, along with our viewers and listeners. For many of our Voice of America radio affiliates, Learning English is coming up next. And tomorrow morning, it's Daybreak Africa with James Bate. On behalf of the Voice of America, thanks for tuning into Straight Talk Africa. In the meantime, get better, not bitter, Africa. And please remember to keep the African hopes alive.